Hello, I'm Matt Hoots with Rate Green. This video is part of a series. The rest of the videos with titles and links to the other videos are in the description below.
So as I said, our first home was when I was with Energy Vanguard, and we did, this is Energy Star was starting to really make a big presence in the industry, and people were wanting to get their homes certified and proven that they have something that is using less energy. So this house was a tear down to the, they wanted to tear it down to the foundation and use the original footprint, and we found some cracks in the foundation, so we ended up just going down to just ripping it all out and starting from scratch. It just saved the builder quite a bit of money to try to, instead of repairing and then just to go ahead and do something new. So this is in a historic district, so it had to follow their design guidelines. As you can see, it's very more classical design here. And at the time, I was, spray foam was sort of a silver bullet, and it sort of continues to be that way for a lot of people. And so this is a 2x4 construction, and the cladding is, fiber cement cladding over we have an air gap there to help control moisture, to get the ventilation, to keep the assembly ventilated well so it performs as it should. We have some zip system sheathing, which has a wall sheathing that is with an integrated water resistive barrier, and and then of course fill the cavities with open cell spray foam. And then in the below grade assembly, we have a closed cell foam, and this is just a crawl space. A lot of the equipment's down there. There is an ERV. We use mini splits, ducted and ductless mini splits in all of our projects. And so this has a ducted mini split in the crawl space, and then one in the attic serving the adjacent floors to them. And here we're talking about mentioning continuity. Here's a good look at what we're starting to do here. We go from crawl space up into the wall. That right there, all your control layers, which I'll talk about in a minute, are continuous from foundation to wall and then wall to roof. This assembly here is just, as you can see, is 2x framing with open cell foam filling the cavities, and then a zip system sheathing before you put the shingles on. So this is the first home. We did achieve a 0.8 ACH50. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, that's just air changes per hour at a pressure of 50 pascals, which is basically a 20-mile-an-hour wind blowing on all sides of the home. And that just tells you how much leakage is happening in the building envelope. And this is 0.8, which is the volume of 80% of the volume of the house is exchanged with the outside air per hour at that pressure. So obviously your house isn't under that pressure all the time, so you're not exchanging that much every day. But but that's just how they measure it. It's just it's almost arbitrary how they came up with it, but that's the metric we use. This is in Georgia. It's in Atlanta. It's in the historic Grant Park, which is climate zone 3A. Most of our homes are in the southeast. Well, all of the ones we'll talk about today are, and we go up to North Carolina, down to Florida with our projects. So anyway, so this one, we were using with the spray foam and the zip system sheathing installation, we were able to achieve this airtightness here, and that, again, super important on any home. And this is another one here in Georgia. This is, it has a name, Proud Green Home. It was sort of a media home. They had a lot of manufacturers contributed to this, so we got a lot of the products were donated for it. There was a lot of press around this one. You can search Proud Green Home and see a lot of information on this. It was done in which is just south. It's near the airport here in Atlanta. And anyway, we used 2x6 walls here and advanced framing techniques. You know, this is a lot of the Earthcraft and Lead for Homes, those programs. They tend to promote the use of, you know, more efficiency in the materials. So when you use 2x6, you can go 24 on center, which gives you a lot more insulation because the wall has less of the framing and less often. So we'll talk about thermal bridging here in a little bit, but this is, so with 2x6, and then we put on the exterior a product called R sheathing, which is their standard zip system sheathing with 1.5 inches of polyisocyanurate, and that's attached to the exterior, and it is a structural sheathing. And then we put another layer of the it's not called out here, but it says this 1x4 furring strips. Excuse me, this is actually a Benjamin Obdyke. It's a rain screen mesh that goes in behind the cladding. So the roof is, you know, filled with just a 12-inch TJI. And then your zip system, just standard zip system sheathing over the top there, and then a standing seam metal roof. And here we again transition from foundation to wall, you know, continuous insulation. This is a slab on grade, so we used a stem wall, and we covered that stem wall with a below grade insulation, and then continued up into as the zip system R sheathing. And so here's that below grade assembly. Again, in climate zone 3A, we were able to get down to 0.7 ACH50. And a lot of that is, you know, really just execution. There's not extra product or material that's necessary. It's just execution. All of the products that we used are very typical in this home and most homes. And it's just following the manufacturer's instructions, and of course just paying attention to every crack and detail. And we, you know, during our blower door tests, we now use a fog machine, fill up the house with fog, do a positive pressure test and then any fog we notice coming through cracks, then we go attack that crack or gap and we fill it, and then we know where our leaks are. This next project this was in about 2014. We started getting into using a different insulation product on the exterior. And the reason we started going to the exterior is because of what we'll talk about in a bit is, you know, thermal bridging. Each one of these studs in the wall is a thermal bridge. So in order to control the heat loss through the studs, we're putting and all the framing, we're putting insulation on the outside. So this is our second experience at using exterior. And then in this case, we actually did use 1x4 furring strips, and then of course a fiber cement cladding here. This house is actually well, it's net zero. There are times when she's net positive, but this is let's see, about a 6 kilowatt system, and you can see it's perfect orientation, lots of sun, very little shading. So this system is working really well for her. But we filled the walls with loose fill fiberglass, and this is starting the transition away from foam. So this is a product by Owens Corning. That we also filled. It's basically the exact same assembly on the roof. So the wall is the roof, is the floor. That concept of continuity that is super critical. So this is our 2x10 roof, 2x12 roof framing to get extra insulation in there, and then just 2 layers of XPS. And we did that primarily to be able to control air movement through this double layer here. So if you stack it basically one over the other, you've got an air gap at the seam, And so we staggered them both horizontal and vertical to be able to limit that airflow. And then we, of course, sealed it well with the tape. This is a very tedious assembly right here because there are 2 layers of 1/2 inch. It's worth it when you go to a much thicker assembly because they don't make, you know, super thick exterior insulation as one piece. So you almost are forced to go with multiple layers. I wouldn't do this again, just 2 layers of 1/2 inch, but it was exploratory. This is another product where the manufacturer gave us this insulation to try out, this assembly. So we did it, and we won't be doing that. We don't recommend it because it's just so time consuming. So a lot of this has to, you know, a lot of where we are today has to do with what we've learned about cost as well as installation and performance. This one we got down to 0.9 ACH50 in the same climate zone.
Thanks for watching this video. For your convenience, we've loaded up the next video as part of this series. If you enjoyed this video, give Chris and Dan a thumbs up.